Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and fight fans around the world. It's your boy P. Welsh here with another UFC picks, previews, and predictions. We got UFC Fight Night, Michel Pereira versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Coming off a 6-6 week, a couple tough losses, a couple bad reads. Overall, happy to get to that 6-6 record. Out here, feeling sharp this week, ready to go. Back in the Apex, 7 p.m. Eastern. Let's get it on here. We're starting in the heavyweight division. We got Austin Lane versus Robolis Despon Sage. Lane 12-5 coming off a loss. Robolis Despon Sage coming off a loss 5-1 to Walder Cortez Acosta. My man beat him up, made him look bad, gave Austin Lane a game plan. Will Austin Lane be able to execute on that game plan? He's kind of more of a striker, doesn't have too much on the ground game. Took a couple big L's recently to Tafa and Dinzy. Really got put on the back foot and finished. I can definitely see that happen there today. That'll probably be the official pick. That's kind of where the books are leaning to. Despon Sage to kind of put Lane out there. Really, really big length, 7 inches. I think as long as this guy doesn't get taken to the ground, I think he's got a good chance to almost knock any low-level heavyweight out. That's Despon Sage. Lane, I really just can't pick him going against a KO artist when he has a propensity to get KO'd. Doesn't have the most experience. I believe he was a former NFL player, I want to say. Austin Lane, that is. He definitely has a chance to catch him on the chin in a puncher's fight. Anything can happen. But short and sweet. Most of Despon Sage's fights are ending in under 30 seconds. The last one was the anomaly. Oops. Against Cortez Acosta. So let's see what he can do. He had a lot of lower end competition, and I don't think Lane is that high end competition that's going to challenge like somebody Acosta, who's a very heavy laden in the UFC. 6 fights. Lane's kind of in that similar boat with Despon Sage, 1-1 versus I'm gonna say he's in the 0-2 in the UFC. So I'm gonna pick Despon Sage here out of desperation. I think he's more talented of a striker. Again, both a little bit older. Gentleman's 36 for Lane, and Despon Sage has competed in quite a few Olympics. He's up there at 36 as well. This go time for him. He's got to make a statement. There's a reason he's leading off the card. Got Despon Sage in first round KO. If maybe I'll put a ticket down, that might be something that I find a little spicy just because I think he has that potential, the power, the length, the surprise factor to get in there, put Lane straight jab, overhooked right, finish him quick, couple punches, go to the ground. It's all over, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on here. I think we got like 4 straight cat fights. We're starting in the women's strawweight division. Melissa Martinez, 7-1, coming off a loss versus Alice Alderline, 9-6, coming off a loss. And Martinez had a rescheduled bout against Lucindo, who won the other week. Alderine coming in there off a loss to Bannon, which was a pretty close fight. Coming in really short turnaround. The one thing with Alice here, she's a bit older. Never mind, that's the next fight. She's 32. I think Martinez really has the talent. She got the striking. I think she'll put out the volume that I think will end up winning 2 of the rounds, right? Even if it's a split decision, I think Melissa Martinez is the right pick here. I think she'll win in output. I think she'll win in talent. I think she has, really, Alderline didn't really do too much to, win the other day, against Bannon. Was a big underdog and got beat. I think it was clearly 2-1. It was a split decision, so somebody did give the fight to Alderine, but the judges these days, I mean, you always have to be so close and skeptical when you think fights can go the distance. That being said, I think Martinez will get the job done. I wouldn't want to be picking Alderline and then having to root her on from behind against Martinez, who probably is winning the exchanges, winning the combinations. Probably a little bit faster, sharper, younger, and has a little bit more to prove. I think her last loss was to Lupi? Was it? Or no, Elsa Reed, who's also on the card. But I think she's gonna have a chance to really show a lot of talent here, a lot of make a name in the UFC, a lot of time in between there. Really, again, win with the volume, win with the technical ability, win with the precision. Got Melissa Martinez here getting the dub in the women's strawweight division. Moving on to fight number 2, her only defeat against Elise Reed and then Jessica Penny. Give me the penny vodka and the chicken cutlets, ma. We got a Jessica Penny fight, 14-8 I believe she's the one that's a little bit older, coming off a loss, 3-5 in the UFC, losses to Ducati and Ricci. Wins against Gudins and Kolomovsky are definitely nothing to bat an eye about. Again, get a little bit older in age. Is that gas tank going to be there? Definitely high submission possibility for Penny as well, which is where Reed struggles. 2 of her losses have come via submission. She lost to Loopy and Look Boom Me, Sam Hughes. Even our own. She's fought a lot of talented fighters, Elise Reed, and that's why I think she'll probably get the job done. I'm leaning there. As we get the breakdown started, I know her record isn't as good, but I just think if you're unable to exploit the takedown ability with the person having good defense and a better striking, I think you can have a long day for somebody like Jessica Penny. Again, the same thing. I don't want to be rooting for her to have to get a takedown, control damage when Elise is in control of the fight. I know she'll have some metrics there with a nice reach advantage, maybe work some low kicks, but I think Elise Reed will end up doing the volume, connecting more cleanly in her exchanges, and stifling whatever takedown pressure can occur, right? And then I think the longer the fight goes, the better it will be for Elise Reed. I think she'll win the 3rd round. I think if she can win one of the first 2 rounds, she could start off strong, especially on the feet. She's able to stuff a couple takedowns. I think this is an Elise Reed spot, the dub. Like I said, I think Penny has a chance to she'll have to take down control and damage. It's just a lot to ask. It's a lot of energy. It's not always the easiest to do. But I got Elise Reed, just a little lean here. I think she's the pick. I think she's the one that has the potential to really kind of put a stamp on her UFC career and really show, a good version of herself against somebody that is definitely beatable in a way, but definitely also going to be a challenge. So I'm not saying this is like an easy fight by any stretch of the mean, but I think this will be one of those good. Let's go, Elise Reed. Get her done. Then the last women's fight here in a row. We got Jocelyn Edwards versus Tamaris Vidal. Edwards 13-6 coming off a loss versus Vidal 11-3 coming off a loss. Vidal was finished by Gatto. Punch right in the boobie. Finished her in the 3rd round. Body shot, it says. A loss to Rondon before that. Nothing too impressive. I guess she did. You could say she won against Perez, but illegal knee, you really counting that as a win? I mean, I'm definitely leaning Edwards here, and she's the favorite. And for a reason, I think her experience is something that is a little bit more well-rounded and more defined. Losses to Perez and the Cornell wasn't a good loss. I think she could have definitely fought better that night, but I think she can come back against somebody like Vidal who. Is she going to take Edwards down? It's going to be a tough task. Going to have to use a lot of energy. If a body shot can finish her in the 3rd round, I feel like that same situation can be there again, depending on how hurt she gets. And I think Edwards has been in some wars. I think if she's going to get in another one, I think she can overcome again, win the 3rd round. Got to do is kind of win one of the 2. I think she'll finish strong late. I don't think I think Vidal has almost faded sometimes in fights, and I definitely question her gas tank. I remember betting her just to get to the decision, and she didn't do that against Gatto. But Gatto is a beast. She punches hard. I like Edwards here to get the rebound. Vidal, I just don't think it's a good matchup for her. I think it's somebody that's I think we had seen this a little bit, and we'll see this definitely coming up. It's if it's a mirror matchup, we're going to take the guys that, I feel like a little bit. I feel like there's always sometimes an edge in the mirror matchup. Kind of in that first heavyweight fight, this one seems very close. Women's bantamweight division here. Very similar metrics. We'll be going back and forth. It'll be very close to, very hard to score. Very close rounds. Very tightly contested. But I think Edwards will get the edge here. Edge to Edwards. Jocelyn. Moving on here. Again, kind of similar in this. We're going to the men's bantamweight. Brad Katona, 16-3. Contender Series legend versus Gene Matsumoto, 15-0, Brazilian Muay Thai phenom. And it's going to be a tough spot for Katona. Again, a very similar mirror matchup. And I think Matsumoto has a big advantage here in the speed, the athleticism, possibly even the strength, right? A reach advantage is going to play well if he can really lean on those striking abilities. Do damage to Katona where he can't do takedowns if Katona's just leaning on the fence on him and unable to take him down. He's gonna have good balance. He got fought Dan Argueta pretty tough there, and Argueta's a wrestler trying to take him down. I think Katona will try and be something like that, and I think at any point Matsumoto can get in a very good position against Katona, and I think that's the pick here. I really don't have the confidence against somebody that's pretty talented, and like I said, when we get that mirror matchup, I'm always going to lean kind of the younger guys, kind of the guys that are going to come up and have a little bit more of a speed advantage. I know Katona's 32, but just against, he just I just don't think he gets it done. I think there's a Matsumoto is very very fast with it, man. He's very young, 25. The Muay Thai, the kicking, the reach advantage, the striking, I think will be a big advantage. Though even the later the fight goes, he's going to defend the takedowns and not be afraid to look a submission and go from there. He's got three guillotines, so he's not afraid to get put on his back, even if Katona gets in a big position early. Could get a finish like Matsumoto. He just sits on his back too much the whole game, right? The whole day, which I don't necessarily think. I think he'll want to stand and strike and play defense a lot more than he'll want to get it to the ground, right? If he takes some damage late, he might get to the ground and can play from there. Maybe just avoid like danger and damage if he gets hurt late. I like Matsumoto here. I think he starts strong. I think he freaking comes out of the gate pretty fast. I think he really wants to strike. Use the distance, use the kicks, use the length, 1-2 combos. Really, I don't think that's Katona's strength. He's going to want to clench, grapple, get along the cage, get him to the ground, where Matsumoto is going to have a pretty solid, skill set and technique to work and really negate, I think, Katona's strength here, even though they're very similar. I think Matsumoto would like to take down Katona, but, isn't going to risk it when he's a better striker and has some advantages. Matsumoto for the win. Let's go! Dude, this one I don't get. Mateus Nicolau, 19-5-1, coming off a loss, I think, to Perez or something, or Alex Perez, versus Almabayev, 20-2, coming off a win against 6-foot Johnson in the men's flyweight division. I mean, this is Almabayev all day, minus 170. I don't get it, man. I want to take a loan out and put it all on Almabayev. I definitely think he can get a finish here, too. I mean, the way that Nicolau got finished in his last bout gives me no confidence that he can't get starched again. Four knockout losses in 5. I think I might bet on it again. Even though Almabayev, the thing is he has hands, so I definitely think he can put him out with a big time punch. I also think he can get a submission finish. I think Almabayev inside the distance might be the absolute slam of the century. I feel like how can you have faith in Nicolau? Even at a light underdog against somebody like Almabayev. I mean, come on, dude. You got to believe in the Kazakhstanis. They just freaking come out there and have fighting in their freaking DNAs, man. They're built different breed out there. Shavkat's got a title shot rumored inbound here at the end of the year, which should be absolutely stellar against Bully B. I mean, don't sleep on Bully B, man. I mean, Shavkat really hasn't been in a 5-rounder, but that's not for here or there. They're tough sons of guns, dude. They're in there for finishes. Almabayev didn't get the finish against Johnson, but unanimous. Didn't get the finish against Vergara. A couple. He's definitely live for a submission more than a TKO, a 9 there, so we can definitely see that happening. Where he'll probably work some hooks and then something like that. We'll see what happens. I definitely think inside the distance, Almabayev, book it, signed, sealed, delivered. That's probably one of the biggest confidence picks. Even his money line minus 170. I mean, that's just disgusting. I think against Nicolau, I know he's ranked. They're both ranked in a way, but when you get put out 4 times by TKO, and then you got somebody coming in there that's gonna absolutely be hungry and on the wagon, dude. Freaking the wagon's coming through Nicolau, but get in or move out of the way. Almabayev, let's go, baby. On to the main card, ladies and gentlemen. The featherweight bout: Darren Elkins, 28-11 versus Daniel Pineda, 28-16. Elkins coming off a win, 3-inch height advantage, 2-inch on the reach. Pineda coming off a loss here, and what do you really want to say there? I like Elkins here. I like damage, danger, Darren Elkins, dude. I think he's going to come in there. He's live for a sub. I think you're, again, mirror matchup. I'm just going to go with the guy in form. Pineda losses against Wood and Caceres is not the really, what are you really looking at from both these guys? They're both long in the tooth. Again, another mirror matchup, very similar situations. I think Darren Elkins still has that explosion. He still has he's willing to throw hands, and I think he has an advantage in this fight throwing hands. And that's why he probably wins the fight. I think their guys are both very capable grapplers, and I think they're both very capable of working the positions, but they could also scramble, get back into positions, try and be aggressive. And a lot of reversals come in as well. Very again, very highly contested fight, but I think that the damage will be with Darren Elkins. I think the striking will be with Darren Elkins. I think the distance control. I think just the will, man. What I've seen from him the last few times, like he's not going up there against nobodies, right? Like Jonathan Pierce, T.J. Brown, Cup Swanson, Nate Launder. I'm not saying Pineda's going against the best people ever, against any slouches or even any gangsters too. But like Wood and Caceres to clear winners. I mean, Nate Wood put it on him last time, and I think if Darren Elkins can just study a little bit of that, implement that into his own game, I think he's got a clear win. I like Dirty Darren Damage Elkins for the win in the featherweight division. It could go to the card. Both these guys being a little bit longer, but I just think when you watch Elkins, he had that urgency in his last fight. That's why I give the advantage here. Coming off a couple losses, I can definitely see you being pretty hungry, but against somebody that's I think going to be up for the challenge, have the metrics as well. I think he'll have an advantage. Darren Elkins, hey baby. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to the men's bantamweight division. Brady Heinstead 9-2 coming off a win versus Jake Hadley 11-3 coming off a win against Longren for Hadley, and then we got Heinstead beat Garrett Armfield. Looked pretty good, looked pretty explosive, and I mean it could be a new day. I think the big advantage for Brady Heinstead here is his athleticism. I think Hadley's more of a calculated boxer, and he's not going to move around like when I watched the Hadley Longren fight, like Longren just couldn't move, man. He wasn't bobbing his head at all. He was literally just standing there and getting hit by Hadley. He was moving around, working the angles. I think somebody like Heinstead, he's really going to have a athletic advantage against Hadley. Could have a lot of problems. I think it was a good performance from Hadley, and I think he's put in a couple good ones in a row. He did lose to Johnson and Durden, but I mean he's putting it out there. Like he's not going bad right now. So it's definitely going to be a close fight, and I definitely can see him having the advantage and winning some fights. I do think Hadley has an advantage in the striking department in terms of volume, technique, and willingness to engage. But I think Brady is willing to eat some of those and get into a position that might be better for him. And once he gets into that position, maybe hooks in something, gets him to the ground. After Hadley gets close, I think it could be a long day. I like Heinstead here. That's the pick. Again, this is one that's very close too. I mean, Hadley's kind of proved me wrong with that Longren pick, but I kind of saw something in that fight where Hadley is very clean with the boxing, and Longren was just standing there. So I don't think we have something similar like that. I think this matchup is way different for Hadley, and I think it could be something that gives him some problems. It's not like the fights he's fought before. Kind of more like not like his last two at least, right? Because he's off against Johnson, then he was the Longren fight, and then he fought Durden, was a loss. He's a grappler. Malcolm Gordon, he won. He's kind of a grappler. So Nascimento grappler, Mitch Raposo grappler with a win. So I mean he's got that experience there, and I think so. He's not going to be afraid to go there. Let's see what actually happens. I think we got to see it from Heinstead. I think he's really talented. If he takes a loss there, I'm not going to be super surprised. But I think he could be one of those guys that does surprise us in the way that we sleep on his athleticism in the bantamweight division, right? Like he could be just so much faster, so much stronger. Something like I don't want to compare him to Kyler Phillips because Kyler Phillips is absolutely lethal. He's on later in this card, but I think he has that mold where he can develop into somebody that's like that, where he can just go up against guys that can't handle what he can bring to the table in the especially in a 15-minute fight when you don't have to worry about lasting 25, conserving some energy, and you can really go full steam ahead. I think that's where Brady's can likely get a finish here, even a sub. But Hadley can also do very well. He's not afraid. He's been in some tough battles. He's been in the octagon a long time. He's not going to be taken down. He's not going to get discouraged. He's not going to panic. That's where I think Hadley has a good advantage here too. Is if Brady doesn't have any striking late in the fight, I can see Hadley getting a turnaround and really putting it on him. Where if Heinstead can't take him down anymore and it turns late, I definitely like Hadley late. But to have the volume against somebody that's probably going to require a lot of energy like Heinstead, I think it's going to be very closely contested fight. Man, this one's a good one. I got Heinstead here. I want to pick Hadley. I think he's a live dog, but again, I want to see how he handles this athleticism. Just because his last fight, what I remember from the Johnson fight is I picked Johnson and Johnson handled from distance, right? He couldn't get in there, right? He couldn't make the moves. And the Durden fight, I think he was athletic enough to win the fight and didn't present too much. But I think that might have been like a short notice fight and at flyweight as well. So we're at bantamweight here. Let's see what happens. This should be a good scrap. Should be some excitement. The bantamweight division is ever dangerous, and I think we could see a good scrap, if not a good finish, and hopefully a fight of the night contender. I really have a lot of high hopes for this fight. I don't think it's going to suck at all. Even if it does go to the decision, I think we're going to see a very good, closely contested fight. I'm excited. Moving along, yeah, he was a flyweight. Hadley was. We got Charles Johnson, 16-6 versus Sumaduri G, 16-6 as well. Very similar metrics, a little bit of leg reach, and Charles Johnson, one of my favorite flyweight fighters, probably one of the best boxing flyweights in the division. Not too much of a ground game. Rescued his fight against Van, beat Hadley, beat Maxim very well against Maxim. Handles wrestlers, handles guys pretty well, or handles wrestlers, handles the clinch pretty well. Has great length and distance control, and I really like him here. I think he'll win. Could knock him out. He's got great boxing, man. I feel like he's kind of reached this point where he's in like the Zen moment, man. He's very long for the division, 5'9", 70-inch reach. Sumaruji's gonna have in there, but I think that's also gonna allow Johnson to. The length is going to allow Johnson to almost get in there, slip and get in there and present a lot of power. I think Johnson can get a KO here. I think if he puts one on the chin inside the distance when he starts boxing, I think he can have an opportunity to absolutely flatline this guy, and I really like it. Huge favorite in my opinion. I don't actually understand why the odds are not more, only minus 225, but I'm a big Johnson fan, and I think it seems like I remember some of those fights, and he never even in some of his losses, he looked very good. And I think he's just, dude, these lighter guys, when they get confidence and they get on a roll and they can get good matchups, I think they can really put a nice streak together. And I like Johnson here to continue that. I think he's a class boxer, maybe one of the best in the flyweight division. He's got knockout power and capability. He can put it on the chin and absolutely flatline anybody, especially at flyweight if the guy's cutting a little extra. Johnson, I got Johnson, man. He's class act, dude. I think there's a lot of guys that I trust on this card. A lot of times when you're going through cards, there's not always a lot of people that you trust, but there's a lot of people that I really like, and a lot of fights that I think will be really good because I like those guys. Even like Katona Matsumoto, Almabayev, Nicolau. I think there's going to be a lot of close fights here, and Johnson is going to be one of them. I think Johnson puts the lights out. I don't think it's as close as I'm saying it's going to be, but I like Johnson here. Bang! Moving on. What a co-main event, ladies and gentlemen. We got Rob Font, 20-8, coming off a loss, versus Kyler. What's Kyler's nickname? It's got to be pretty cool, right? The Matrix. I was going to say like Skybender, Airbender, something. The Kyler, the Matrix Phillips, dude, and he can move in there. Again, one of those things at 135, these guys, 5'8", are just sometimes so athletic against another guy, Rob Font, coming in there, losses to Figueiredo and Sandhagen. Nothing to bat an eye about. Some absolute, but I think this is kind of one of those things. I think Phillips he's that next level guy, 37 for Font. I just think Phillips at 29, where you're going to do the level of athleticism from Kyler Phillips, what he presents in his striking, just the dynamic, the ferocity behind it. I just can't see Rob Font. I mean, I can see him holding up for the 3 rounds. I can't see him getting a win. Now, it probably is one of the better fighters that Phillips has fought, but the way he put it on Munoz is the way I think he can just put it on Phillips. He'll just be suffocating. No room, calculation, distance control, just firing every shot he's got from freaking, he'll be throwing elbows from the side. I just imagine Neo in the Matrix pulling out all the guns, hitting. He's going to be pulling out one of the guns, hitting, coming across with the other gun, hitting him with a left. This guy, Kyler Phillips, is next level, man. I think he's one of the most locked in guys in the bantamweight division, and I think he can be challenging somebody like Sandhagen. I mean, I think he calls out Sandhagen after this win, which would be a great matchup. Sandhagen Phillips, if he's still riding the pine here a little bit. I know he'll be active. His last fight was in March, so I mean he's only on that kind of 2-a-year plan, which I don't mind guys not being more active like that, because especially the younger guys, you have to have time to I really think you should be putting in 3 fights a year once you really kind of hit your prime, because you really have to maximize your opportunity. But as you're developing, you want to put in time to really grow those macro techniques and the macro habits that you really get over the course of like 3 months, 12 weeks. I like to think about training as like you train for a day, a week, a month, and then a quarter, which is 3 months. And I think like as you use that to develop in the fight game, as some of these coaches definitely use in terms of that, I think you see young guys really develop. And I mean, when you watch somebody against Phillips, just watch the tape against Munoz, how does he not do that against Font? 38, 37, kind of similar matchup. Gonna put it on him again, challenging himself again. You know, building upon his last performance, try and get a finish. And if can, I really think he wants to call out somebody that he can, somebody that's above him in the division, somebody that he, if he wins, he can almost call for a title shot if he wants to. And if not, he puts himself in an absolutely #1 contender spot, right? Above Phillips is Aldo. He's not going to fight him. Batista, I would love to see that fight. Sedong's booked, right? Or recovering. Cringe Hudo would be amazing fight. Cheeto, Vera, I don't think Cheeto wants any of the smoke. Sandhagen. So I think there's some possibility up there for him to call out somebody up in the rankings. They got some guys in there that he's willing to probably take on. I mean, I just named a few. If he gets the dub here against Robbie Font, and Robbie Font's still got a lot of guys he can go up against. I know he's getting a little long in the tooth. Not the most best run of performances in Rob Font's career, right? I think he had a loss to Sandhagen in there, lost to Figueiredo, Vera, Aldo, 4 losses out of 5. He did beat Yanez, but I mean, Yanez ain't really that. Got some good wins in his career, but here I like Phillips, man. 29 entering his peak, really going to bring the absolute, probably best performance of the night. I think there's going to be some great performances of the night. I think Kyler Phillips get a bonus performance for just putting, I can see even 30-27 on him. Into the main event. What a co-main event. Into the main event of the evening in the middleweight division. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, 12-2 versus Michel Pereira, 31-11. 2-no contest here. What can you say? You got Hernandez, the freaking absolute wrestler extraordinaire, gonna put it on you, try and get you there. And Pereira, just an absolute beast. Dude, this is a freaking freight train meeting a boulder. I don't know what's going to happen in this fight. I probably think one of these guys get finished. I don't know how you don't pick Michel Pereira here. My guy looks like he's an absolute athletic monster, absolute athletic beast, 31 years old, very similar to Hernandez. I don't think Hernandez is going to be able to implement some of his strength. My only thing is, man, I really think Hernandez's ground game is elite, right? Kind of something similar. I mean, very similar comp to Sean Brady in the welterweight division, where I think he can throw hands. It's not a good spot, but man, I really don't like him against his spot against freaking Pereira. Man, Pereira is an absolute killer. I think he's one. I think he's so strong. I think he's something that I don't know if Hernandez is gonna has seen something like him inside the octagon. Kopolov, strategic striker. Shabayashin, Barrial, Josh Freemed, guys that he can definitely walk through. What happens when he faces somebody that he just can't walk through, like Pereira? I think Pereira's got a big win here. I think Pereira can knock him out. I think he'll see something. I mean, Pereira can definitely. I don't know what's gonna happen after this. Call out Imavov would be a great fight. I think Barallo is probably a little bit of a waste, Cannoneer, but this guy's got to go fight somebody high up in the division. The winner of this fight has to go get somebody pretty big time because Hernandez is a little bit lower, 13 versus, what's this guy? 14. The way Pereira is 14, he can't be wasting too many more fights. I really want to see them move up against somebody and create some new matchups. We can get some other matchups, right? I could like the loser against Costa and the winner against Imavov or Barallo or something. I don't know what, or Barallo, Imavov, and then you can get like Cannoneer, I don't know, man, but we got to see something. We got to like get Pereira up in the rankings. Hernandez is no slouch though. Like I'm talking like he's going to walk right through, which kind of feels like he is because Pereira is just a finishing machine lately. But I think this is going to be the best competition that Hernandez has ever fought. I think he's one thing that's a super big advantage for Hernandez. I feel like he's very composed in there. The way he acts in there, I think he's going to be a very big professional, but I think at some point he's going to take a little bit more damage and he's just going to lose, man. Pereira is an absolute beast. He's on a tear. Again, not like the guys he's fighting is exactly the cream of the crop. Pateria, Olshanek, Petrosky, Ponzinibbio, Filio, Chaos Williams is a nice win. But man, he just walks through everybody like that too. I think he's got ground game that can rival him, and I think he'll win in the striking. He'll present a little bit bad position, and even if Hernandez tries to get him down, I think Hernandez could very well struggle trying to keep him down and trying to keep a good position. I think he can get reversed, and I think Pereira can put the strikes together that can do the damage to win the fight. Even if Pereira gets in top position one time, the fight could be over, right? Hernandez has to live there and win there more minutes than Pereira gives him, and I just don't know if he has that in the cards. That's why I like Michel Pereira here. I just think he's going to be on an absolute tear. I think he probably could fight for a belt one day, if not a number one contender. I want to see this freaking middleweight division get cooking, turn over a little bit because they definitely can. This middleweight division, it's getting stale right now, and they got some guys. I mean, we'll do a roll call here. You know, we got Chimaev, Hermanson, Paulo Costa, Roman Dolizd, Brendan Allen, Cannonier, Vittori, Borrallo, Imavov. I mean, we got the Duplessis and Strickland booked, right? We got Whitaker and Chimaev booked. Let's get some of these guys cranking after this. Let's get some exciting fights for the new year scheduled after this one. I think this is going to be a cracker middleweight. A freaking contender eliminator, unfortunately, down there, but don't think these guys are any bit slouches and can also fight another ranked guy. I mean, here's the thing. Whoever loses is not moving below Chris Curtis. So they're going to both keep their rankings, win, lose, or draw. The UFC committee is going to know these boys are absolute gangsters. I think Pereira could definitely go up a little bit, and we'll see some spicy matchups in the middleweight division come the new year. Let's go have a big week, baby. I'm feeling it. Let's go. Come on, October. We need it. We got Despan Sage to start us off, Melissa Martinez, Elise Real, Jocelyn Edwards, Jean Matsumoto, Alma Bayev, Darren Elkins, Brady Heinstead, Charles Johnson, Kyler Phillips, and Michel Pereira. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the video. Thank you so much. Comment your winners in the comment section. If you predict 100% of the winners, I will give you $100. Please, thank you so much for supporting me, continuing to watch the videos. If you do click in, I appreciate all you guys so much, so very much. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves and your health. Peace and love, everybody.